We are glad to have you back if you're just joining us. This is Firecrackers, and the topic we have at hand now is the one of grid collapse, pump price increase, and other matters arising. And now we have Engineer Olumayowa Idowu, FNSC, who is joining us live from China. He is the chairman of Nigeria Society of Engineers in Abeokuta. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us at this time.
Afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity.
Okay, so all right, thank you so much for being here. So right to the question, Nigeria over the years have always been having issues of grid collapse, and then just this week we had like two just happening in this past week. So what does this say about our energy sector? Is there something that we are not getting right yet? Now, this issue of persistent grid collapse would be a thing of the past. What is it exactly we are not getting right?
Thank you for that question. The repeated collapse of Nigerian grid points to significant issues in our energy infrastructure, and this highlights systemic problems, which include insufficient investment in maintenance, aging infrastructures, lack of diversification in energy sources, and also management inefficiencies. The grid instability that we often experience reflects the nation's inability to meet the growing demand, to manage our power fluctuations, and also to adequately even transmit electricity across the country. There are so many things that, you know, causes this, starting from aging infrastructure that I mentioned earlier on. Much of our power infrastructures, they are outdated. They are unable to handle the growing energy demands and technological advancements presently. So this even makes our grids prone to failures under pressure. Apart from that, another one is poor maintenance. Regular and proactive maintenance, of course, is crucial to prevent breakdowns. But we often do maintenance of our equipment when we already have failures. Apart from that, we rely too much on the national grid. Nigerian heavy dependence on a single centralized grid makes the entire nation vulnerable to widespread outages. These are part of the issues, that cause this regular grid collapse. We have so many issues that we need to talk about. So if you look at all these issues, we are not even there at all. Another thing is our poor transmission and distribution network. The transmission is often referred as, the weakest link in our power chain. So it's not even, as it's supposed to be. If you look at our distribution companies, to all our discos, they struggle with different issues. One is energy theft, technical losses. There was a time we are talking about a poor metering system, and even up till now, poor metering system is still there. So we have so many issues that we are battling with. All these things, causes repeated collapse of our national grid. So if you want to get this thing right, we need to look at this issue holistically and tackle it once and for all if you are truly serious about this.
Okay, all right. So talking about being serious about tackling issues, we know that the federal government is the one largely in charge of generating electricity, but now that they have also given state governors to permission to be generating their own electricity, do you think this might perhaps in a way reduce the burden on the national grid?
Yes, of course. This is a right step in a right direction, giving states the power to generate their own electricity. A few weeks ago, I was able to attend a public hearing in Ogun State on a bill to generate, transmit, and distribute electricity. And of course, all the stakeholders, applauded the state government for taking the right step. Giving each state to generate their own electricity is the right step in the right direction, because of course they are not going to rely on a centralized grid. They will be able to monitor. They will be able to generate, transmit, distribute their own electricity. They have the control to manage and monitor the efficiencies of their own electricity, and of course it's going to be better for the people of that state, not relying on the national grid collapse every now and then.
Let us quickly go on this commercial break, and when we come back, we'll still be looking at the issue of grid collapse and what to do, and hopefully maybe Nigerians too will be boasting of 24 hours electricity supply without interruption. Do stay with us. Glad to have you back. If you're just joining us, this is Firecrackers, and we're talking about the issue of consistent grid collapse in Nigeria and looking for a way out of this situation. And I have with me, joining us live from China, engineer Olumayowa Idowu. So we were talking about states generating their own source of their own electricity, which you mentioned was a very good thing. But if we look at Nigeria holistically, what source of energy do you think that we are not utilizing so well that if we are perhaps to turn our attention to it, we will be getting different results, and perhaps this could be a saving grade for our electricity supply in the country?
Oh, thank you. If you look at it, we have so many things that we are not utilizing in Nigeria. When you look at solar power, Nigerian geographical location provide abundance of sunlight, especially in northern region. And, large-scale investment in solar power, can, of course, boost electricity generation. Apart from that, we have substantial, power for hydropower, but we are not fully harnessing this, and, we are not generating electricity output at, supposed to generate. As a country, supposed to be looking at a long-term solution, which is a nuclear power. If you can develop a nuclear power program, it's going to be a long-term solution to, significantly increase electricity supply. Of course, this requires investment in infrastructure, but, we have it some other countries, and I believe we can look at it as a long-term solutions to solve our, electricity problem in Nigeria.
Oh, okay, all right. Thank you so much for that. So while we are talking about issue of having alternative sources of electricity, the Minister of Power recently said that if we are to look at the amount other countries are paying for electricity and the one we are paying for electricity in Nigeria, that the one we are paying in Nigeria is still low, despite the fact that they did some rearrangement for Band A, Band B, Band C, and Band D, which are paying different amounts of money for electricity. And even with that, they're still saying that we are still paying very low amount of money. Do you think that perhaps these differences in cost, and because we are paying so low for electricity in Nigeria, do you think that might be part of the contributing factor to the reason why we do not have consistent electricity supply in Nigeria?
The instability of power supply in Nigeria seriously cannot be. It cannot. While pricing is an important factor, several other underlying issues contribute to our, unstable power supply in our country, and not, this low tariff that you mentioned. We have so many issues that contribute significantly. Like I mentioned, our inadequate infrastructure, generation shortfall. We have installed capacity of like 12,500 megawatts, and we even struggle to deliver like maybe like 3,000 megawatts. 3,000 megawatts. And also, if you look at our transmission and distribution losses, I mentioned energy theft. We have so many issues, so many underlying issues that we need to solve, and not even this low tariff that you mentioned. While I agree that low electricity tariff may also contribute to the challenge that we are facing, but they are not the main cause of power instability in Nigeria. The real issues, lies in infrastructure inadequacy, inefficiency of generation capacity, the transmission and distribution bottlenecks, our systemic inefficiencies like energy theft and all that. These are the main issues that contributes to power issues that we have in Nigeria, and not, low electricity tariff.
Very much for that. So now, when we are talking about energy theft, I don't know, but it seems as if this is something that has come to stay with Nigeria for a very long time. we know that if the IBDC and whichever branch they are trying their best to curb issue of energy theft. But we also have to consider that perhaps the reason this is happening is because a lot of people do not have money to afford. There's issue of crazy billing, and then even for some people when they get prepaid, because a lot of experts have recommended getting prepaid to avoid this issue of crazy billing, but those bills still get transferred to the prepaid, and then we see have people who are boycotting. They will still do this illegal connection. So instead of power coming through the prepaid, they are connecting straight to the line that brings electricity to their houses. So for this issue of energy theft, what advice, what could you recommend to probably bring it to an end?
All right, thank you. I agree with you that even when Nigerians they try to get prepaid meter in order to ensure that they pay for what they consume, they still feel frustrated that they are paying for what they are not using. That's let me even divert a little bit to all this band A, band B, band C, which is actually based on the number of hours of electricity, that you receive daily, and so you are supposed to pay based on that. But Nigerians, because we experience, erratic power supply, and we often receive less electricity, so we are not happy with this, and we are frustrated. So, of course, because of that, there is urgent need for transparency and better regulation. And now comes to energy theft. This is one of the reasons what leads to energy theft, because when you are even willing to pay and you are not getting what you are paying for, of course, it frustrates Nigerians. So the best thing is to ensure that people get what they are paying for. They are using they continue to use the electricity they are paying for, not that they are in darkness and where they are making payments. So if you want to stop the issue of energy theft, you need to let people, let them be satisfied with what they are using. Nigerians deserve fair billings, and if they are not getting fair billing, of course there will be continual energy theft in Nigeria. If these schools cannot meet this promised supply of hours, then tariff must be adjusted accordingly. If not, there will be energy theft. So continuous payments for substandard services is not fair, and of course it's going to continue to lead to energy theft. But if there is improvement in electricity supply, people will, of course, they will be willing to pay for what they are using.
Okay, all right. So if I'm to go by what you're saying, now does it mean that despite the band A, band B classification, if we still don't get a lot of things right in the energy sector, we'll still be having band A customers who could be getting like 8 hours electricity supply in a day? Because this is what is already happening. For some people that were moved to band A, they are consistently complaining that they still don't get the 20 hours electricity supply. So what is the essence of them paying that much money for little or no electricity supply? So does it mean that might still continue until we get some things right in the energy sector?
Exactly. Of course, that will continue until we get it right in energy sector. If you are making payment for band A and you are not getting enough electricity for band A, of course you continue to feel frustrated. Nigeria deserve fair billing practices, like I mentioned earlier on. They deserve reliable electricity. So if these schools cannot meet these supply hours, then tariff must be adjusted accordingly. It's not good for someone to be paying continuously for substandard services. It's not fair at all. And there are so many issues that they need to look at concerning these, making payments for substandard services. They need to look at unreliable power supply. So if you know that the power supply is not reliable, then you don't ask Nigerians to pay for it. It's uncalled for. So there should be accountability. The regulatory framework should ensure that customers only pay for what they receive, not that you are paying for what you are not received at all, what you are not getting at all. And of course, there should be improved service delivery. Even if customers cannot get, and they cannot get this electricity that we are talking about, there should be compensation for hours that they are not getting. They are not getting this electricity. There should be mechanism for compensation or tariff adjustment to reflect the actual supply levels. So these are part of the things that needs to be looked into if you want to get it right. If not, people will continue to get frustrated, and people will continue to be involved in energy theft.
Of this classification by ban, would you say it is a little premature, considering that we are lacking lots of infrastructure to make it even function well in the first place?
I didn't get that question right.
Okay, I'm asking that, would you say that this classification of customers, band A, band B, band C, would you say it is a little bit premature, since it is glaring that we don't have enough infrastructures to actually implement it? Would you say that development of classifying consumers, would you say it's a bit premature?
I think I'm going to agree with you that it's a little bit premature, because why the model for this, band A, band B, band C, why it's a good one, but we are not it's not still good for us, because we don't have assurance of regular power supply. So that's the intention is very good, but because we still experience erratic power supply, it's not going to work. It's not going to work until we are sure that what we are going to get in band A, it's certain. Then of course we can go ahead, and consumers will be willing to pay for what they are going to use. But assuming that we are not sure that band A will receive up to like maybe 16 hours power supply, and of course it's not going to work unless they are going to make compensation for it, unless they are going to create a situation where customers that are not receiving this planned hours of electricity, where we are going to create a mechanism for compensation, or we are going to create a mechanism for tariff adjustment to reflect supply. Maybe, okay, we know that today the supply level is going to fall short to 8 hours. Of course, the mechanism will be there to reflect the tariff plan. Then it can work. So if there is no compensation, customer compensation plan, there is no way if there is no means of no mechanism for compensation, no mechanism for tariff adjustment, even when there is power outage, of course it's not going to work. So before we can get started with this band A, band B, band C, we must ensure that our regular supply for each of these bands, they are constant, number one. We must also ensure that we have a mechanism to reflect supply level. We must ensure we have a mechanism for tariff adjustment to reflect supply levels. And also our regulatory body NEC, they should be able to enhance the oversight to ensure that these schools they adhere to the service levels to each of these tariff band. These schools really work to adhere to the service levels tied to the tariff band A, tied to the tariff band B, and tied to the tariff band C. And if they fail to do that, they should enforce penalties for poor performance. And this, of course, will drive, improve in service delivery. If not, we are still not there yet.
All right, thank you so much for that. Okay, now let's take the opinion of Idowu Olabisi, the NLC Vice Chairman, Lagos State Chapter. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us today on Firecrackers. Okay, I don't know if you can hear me, but we would like to have your contributions on the topic we have, that right now Nigeria once again is just recovering from another grid collapse. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, actually, the long term, in reference to is called the confidence and integrity. What we are seeing in Nigeria today, the federal government, they've missed it already because they are not sincere with Nigeria. If the national grid will collapse 3 times in a week, not talk once in a year, you can see that you have missed it. But really, all the infrastructure on the ground it's already old, depleted already, and they are not ready to spend good money on it to revamp it. But when the money comes in, they come themselves together and share the money and put Nigeria in paint. In that sense, we are talking about the they not brought in what I can call a classic term into the system, whereby trying to say this one is band A, band B, band C, and band Z. That's a class system. What Nigerians expected from the Nigerian government is to make sure all Nigerians enjoy supply adequately. And I could remember very well vividly when Mr. President was campaigning, the issue of electricity was the major issue was talking about, that it cannot make it should not pay for electricity. See where we are today. They have never done anything. But what they brought in, I've said it before, I will repeat it, they brought in what we call class system. Are you now telling me you don't have money, 100,000 naira? Because you are now you are talking about Bande now. The average money you can pay in Bande, you enjoy the supply, this is 18 to 20 hours on a daily basis. Be ready to pay 150,000 naira, 180,000 naira at the end of the month. How many Nigerians can afford to pay that one in this economy? How many? That's what we look at it as a class system. And again, if the national grid can collapse, am I communicating?
Yeah, positively. Please go ahead.
Okay. If all of us can see now that the national grid is collapsing, if that one indicates that infrastructure on ground cannot contain what we generate from generation. And from that place now, we cannot transmit at the right time. Because in Nigeria, the transmission system is from 49.5 to 51. That's the way it can move. But that one is not there. All the structure on ground, the materials, they are overdue for maintenance or for replacement. And in terms of maintenance culture, our maintenance culture in Nigeria is zero. So if you pray to maintain such an equipment, definitely you will not get results. And that's what we are facing now. If you go to the
all right, thank you so much.
That one is the worst thing. Hello?
Okay, all right. So we know that a lot of Nigerians have largely lost faith in the government to provide the electricity supply, and because of that, you'd see that lots of households have generator sets. But this is becoming almost impossible since there is large increase in price of pump price of petrol per litre. So, and then we know that recently the federal government approved for increase in minimum wage, and with this increase in pump price, I know that the organized labor too is asking for a renegotiation. So how has that been going so far?
Oh, well, as regard that the issue of increase in pump price and the minimum wage. In Nigeria today, we don't have one minimum wage because that pregnancy has been aborted in the middle of the day. Because in the process, while we are trying to negotiate with the federal government said if people insisted to collect or to receive 450,000, it means we are going to increase the pump price. And immediately, the leadership of NS and TUC, we agree because of Nigerians that, okay, let us manage that 70,000 naira. Because the review will come up in 3 years to this time. But what we see, the federal government staff the leadership at the back. And what you requested for, or you ask for, or you demand from the leadership of TUC and NSC that you will not increase the pump price if you agree at 70,000 naira. The injection is an increasing. And you can see the hardship all over the nation now. I must tell you, and every Nigeria now, they are under ICU, intensive care unit in all hospitals. Because you are just seeing Nigeria moving up and down, they are caught. People are not happy. You say, before this time, we talk about the 001. Today now, in Nigeria, you don't see 001 again. There's not like 001. You see 000 for 3 days, 000 for 5 days. Many people don't eat anything. People are collapsing every year. Everything is in shambles in Nigeria now. You are just saying, no price you see that facing. Nothing like a minimum wage in Nigeria again. That 70,000 naira cannot satisfy a family of two, just wife and husband. Don't talk of my family of four. Because that 70,000 naira cannot purchase a bag of rice. And so to copy this now, to buy a plastic of goods in the market now is 10,000 naira or 11,000 plus. How many families can afford to buy that one now? I'm not talking about minimum wage. You don't have minimum wage in Nigeria. Minimum pay. No minimum again. Until the federal government face the reality. And you could remember the president of this nation said something that if you allow the Nigerians to breathe, but who is killing Nigeria now? Direct on it, directly, they are killing all of us.
Okay, all right. So right now, is the federal government giving green light when it comes to renegotiating the minimum wage in light of the increase in pump price of petrol, which is now very tight to the dollar, and as dollar keeps going up, there are chances that the price of petrol too might be going up. So is the federal government giving that room for renegotiation of the minimum wage, or is it just sealed on that, on the 70,000 naira?
Well, let me say this. Actually, the discussion is ongoing now. But even though the leadership are not talking about the minimum wage again, the leadership of NSC and TVC, they are not concerned basically on Nigerians now. Because everything is tense. That's what they are discussing now. How they are going to make sure the transportation is very easy for another Nigerians. How the another Nigerians can get food on their table. That's what they are discussing now. That is what the leadership are discussing now. It's ongoing. It's ongoing. Seriously now. Everybody is concerned. Because it's kind of unfortunate. I don't know how we get ourselves in this position and in this nation. Because you see our ladies, our youths, they are front post, can I call it defined or special beggars all over. Every year. Now, every year, go around, you see them, everybody, most of them are not begging for money, they are begging for food. They are begging for food. I don't know how we find ourselves in this position. It's terrible.
All right, thank you so much for that, sir. And now back to Engineer Olumayo Waido. We know that a lot of people have advocated for the refineries even working in the first place before subsidy would be removed, but that was not what happened. That was not our reality in Nigeria. First, the subsidy was removed, and then we had a private refinery first coming on board. But still, they have the date for Nigerians' own refineries to start working has been dancing all around the place. We've been promised so many dates in the past, and up to now, we were told September. We are in October now, we still have not had anything from them. So what do you think we need to do to make sure that our refineries are functioning? Then perhaps this could help bring down the price of petrol in the country.
Actually, we had this issue because we depend on imports. Nigeria really, we heavily rely on importing refined petroleum products, which is due to the lack of our functional local refineries, which means that crude oil has to be exported and then imported as refined products. Of course, this had significant cost to the final pump price. About the subsidy model that you mentioned earlier on, the subsidy, previously kept the pump price artificially low, but when this move seen as necessary from government to reduce their expenditure, it leads to increase in pump price. As consumer, of course, they have to bear the full cost. Now, what is the way forward? We need to invest in fixing the country existing refinery if you want to get it right. We need to fix this existing refinery, or better still, we need to build a new functional, refinery. And we've been talking about one or two private, one private refinery that we're expected to start full operation soon. Perhaps if it begins operation tomorrow, maybe it's going to reduce the burden on us. But as a country, we need to have a functional refinery that will reduce the need for our imports, lower refining costs, and also stabilize petrol prices. Apart from that, we need to also reduce our heavy reliance on petrol for energy. This will, of course, mitigate the price increases. If we try to invest in other energy sources like solar, hydroelectric power, the country will reduce its dependence on fossil fuels, and of course, it is going to shift more sustainable and cost-effective energy options. These are the things I believe we can do to help ourselves as a country. We also need to improve the infrastructure for transporting and distributing these petroleum products to reduce the inefficiencies costs. If we can do this by upgrading our pipelines, by upgrading our storage facilities, even transportation networks, which is going to reduce all these additional costs. We'll get it right by doing this. So let me just say, to reduce the rising petrol pump price, we need to look at this approach significantly by investing in our local refinery capacity. We need to look at it by energy diversification and also infrastructure improvement. If we look at this carefully, of course, we'll get it right by reducing the petrol pump price in our country.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution so far. It has truly been enlightening. Thank you so much for joining us today on Firecrackers.
Thank you.
All right, and that's our engineer Olumayowa Idowu FNSE, who joined us live from China. Is the chairman, Nigerian Society of Engineers, Abeokuta. And many thanks to Idowu Olabisi, NLC Vice Chairman, Lagos Chapter.